Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Happy to be with you here on another hot, beautiful summer day in our great state, our great valley, tucked here up against the mountains. We are 42 days away from the start of the Utah football season. September 3rd, we're playing. Thursday night, Rice-Eccles Stadium will be rocking. We are now inching closer and closer to camp starting. Next week is your final week of no football practice happening, okay? So happy Pioneer Day tomorrow. We are off tomorrow. There's no ESPN 700 programming, at least no live programming happening tomorrow in honor of your Pioneer ancestors. And then we hit it hard Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm out Thursday, Friday for PFL duties. And then fall camp begins. Players report on the 2nd. Fall camp begins on August 3rd. And you're off and rolling. Football season, college football season is back, baby. That's in less than 2 weeks. It's like we're in the Game of Thrones and winter is coming to an end. The long-awaited thaw is coming. We're so excited about it. Got a fun show lined up for you today. Gordy Chiesa is going to swing by, efforting getting on with Eric Weddle. We'll see if he can make some time today. And then Bobby Marks at 1 o'clock to talk about the dust has kind of settled, not only on Bobby's comments about what Utah did to tank last year, but also, the roster flexibility that still exists around the NBA is kind of settled here in the state of Utah. We know what we got. We know who we're going to have for the most part. Now, there's going to be a couple of, role players, 10-day contract kind of guys that might be able to surprise somebody. But you've got, I think, a pretty solid idea about what this Utah Jazz roster looks like. You might be smarter than me and actually have a pretty good idea of what the starting lineup's going to be consistently for the Utah Jazz. But we'll talk about that with Gordy and with Bobby, as not only here in Salt Lake City do we push closer to football season, but all around the country we push closer to football season. And SEC Media Day is happening, as we talked about. I think they wrap up today. They made a big show of it, a big deal of it, which is what you do if you're the SEC. And I just have to say there's been some absolute gold coming out of SEC Media Days, including some thought-provoking things for me. So Pete Golding was asked yesterday about, hey, how did you get Kejuan Lacey and Trinidad Chambliss and some of these guys that could have gone anywhere and maybe should have gone with Lane Kiffin for more money or whatever else, or could have gone to any other school? How did you get them to stay? What was your recruiting pitch? Even though you've already recruited, they've already been recruited to Ole Miss. What was the pitch to get them to stay? And I love an answer like this from a coach, frank, honest, transparent. He said, I'll tell you what I did. I told them, Google Lane Kiffin. Look at what people in Oxford, Mississippi are saying about Lane Kiffin right now. That's a man who they would have built a statue to last week. And look what they're saying about him now. If you leave, it'll be that times 10. You know how much I love this? Because these guys are professional athletes now. A lot of these young men are like full-blown adults, right? They've had high-paying jobs, incredible responsibilities. A lot of them have become the overall breadwinner for their, like, extended family, that kind of thing. A bunch of them are dads themselves, have biological children, whatever. And he just says, look, you can leave if you want to, but that's what they're going to say about you. Playing to the fear of a young person who doesn't know, but everyone pretends they don't care what other people think. All of us care what other people think. And of course he gets to say this while also understanding that, hey, look, we're offering you a very handsome compensation package to stay here at Ole Miss also. And you could finish what you started here at Ole Miss and all these things, right? But pointing to effectively the message boards and saying, do you want to be the subject of that much venom and vitriol? Do you want people to hate you? Because they will if you leave. And he said it somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but also not. Just being transparent with his guys. Saying, like, it's going to be bad if you go, man. And ultimately, I think the more realistic reason that they or any other player stay at Ole Miss or at Utah or at BYU or anywhere else is because you've created a certain family for yourself. You've created a bond with your non-biological brothers on a football team, especially when you have a season like Ole Miss had last year, and especially when it came to an end the way that it did, where you basically got abandoned, got left in the dust by a coach who jerked everyone around for a couple of weeks. You know what I mean? Like, that trauma bonding, I think, matters for the guys who did remain at Ole Miss. But the funny answer from a coach got me thinking about, we are deep now into this transfer portal era in college sports. We know what it's like. Utah's been on both ends of it. They've been on the most painful example end of it, where you lose a presumed team captain to the rival school. You've been on the very positive end of it, where even if you look at this year's roster, you got, let's see, 1, 2, I think like 5 of your best players overall are transfer players, are guys that you poached from somewhere else. Of course, if you're bothered by the sentiment that BYU can take guys from you, you have to remember that Logan Fano came to you from BYU, that last year your best defensive player, John Henry Daly, came to you from BYU, right? And every school has to deal with this. Utah and BYU, proximity-wise, the cross-pollination of the coaching staffs, I think it makes it a little bit more interesting. I think that, Notre Dame and USC as rivals are far enough apart that, like, it's pretty rare that someone's uncle went to USC and their dad went to Notre Dame. It happens even in that rivalry, but Utah BYU, it's obviously a lot more prevalent. It's kind of like the Duke North Carolina thing. Those are like 15 miles away from one another. In any case, the response of an Ole Miss coach about how he re-recruited some of his best players to stay with his team got me thinking about how we actually feel now that we are deep into this transfer portal era, and how you actually feel about the guys that are no longer on this Utah football roster. And we know where most of them went. Don't like salting the wound. But, right, these guys, a lot of them, a lot of your better players, a lot of your more interesting players are wearing maize and blue now. Coaching staff, same thing. We're going to be inducting my good buddy, probably everyone's favorite all-time Ute, Eric Weddle, into the Ring of Honor this season against, Arkansas weekend. And you're going to think about all the guys that spent all 4 years, and you're going to look up there and you're going to see the Alex Smiths of the world, not 4 years for him, but you're going to look at that, and you're going to look at Eric Weddle, and you're going to look at Ron McBride, you're going to look at Roy Jefferson's name, and you're going to be like, all right, that was an era where, man, you finish what you started, and these were great days in college sports, and are those days gone all the way? How will I ever establish the same kind of a bond with one of the star players on this Utah football team now that I did with the guys of that era? Because if you do, you got to be like, oh, wait, is he going to leave? Is he going to leave? And the reasons for leaving are so myriad. There's so many different external factors that can factor in. I mean, look, Smith Snowden is no longer with the University of Utah. We did a remote broadcast, a show on campus last season, where Smith Snowden, Logan Fano, some of the guys on the team came and they sat down. Some of the girls from the basketball team, the guys from the football team, athletes were coming through. They were doing autograph signings at the Utah bookstore, right? And we talked about Keanu Tanuvasa leaving. And I asked Smith Snowden, are you a Utah man for life? Are you a Utah lifer? And he said, yes, I am. I can definitively say that. I'm paraphrasing. You can go find the conversation probably at ESPN700sports.com or at the ESPN 700 app. And I tell you what, he meant it when he said it. But the landscape of college football has changed so much, and we have all had to adjust to this so much, that Pete Golding's comments got me thinking about, like, how do we really feel? So if I put it in if I put it into categories here, star player that transfers away, not like I was excited about his potential when he was a recruit. I'm talking about a guy who scored some touchdowns for you, a guy who was a candidate to be an all-conference player for you. He leaves. I'm talking about Jaquindon Jackson, okay? I'm talking about Keanu Tanuvasa, who obviously is in a more unique situation because he went to the rival school. Let's hone in on Jaquindon Jackson, shall we? Or like a Teo Johnson type player. You look at those guys, and they're no longer part of this program. And I know it's a case-by-case basis, but your overall sentiment toward transfers that leave your program, are you in the, hey, they're dead to me category? I don't want to hear about them anymore. I don't want to know about their stats. I don't care. Are you like, you know what? I wish the kid well. I hope that he has success. I want to see him like we did with Jaquindon Jackson. He thrived at Arkansas when he was healthy. He produced a lot. He was a great player for them. Do you actively root for him? Are you just totally ambivalent? Don't care. Dead neutral. They're just another name on another team stat sheet. It doesn't matter to me. Or are you one of those message board geniuses? Are you one of those people that is like actively angry? It affects your day. It affects your overall fandom of the sport. You question someone's motives. You wonder why people are the way that they are. You slide into someone's DMs. You tweet about it. I don't like you. You don't deserve success. Boy, I hope that you realize what you've done. Right? I mean, a lot of people listening right now are probably like, I would never do that. But there's at least a couple of you who have done that. I mean, those people come from somewhere. They're not bots. They're not AI accounts that are attacked. Well, maybe they are. What if we discover that? What if we find out that at some point these AI, like Claude and ChatGPT, are creating accounts to harass college athletes who transferred from one school to the other just so that they look more like regular emotional people? 877-353-0700. Your opinion on guys who leave, right? And I'm asking this question ahead of fall camp starting because you have to do it again. You have to make that decision again regarding some former Utah players that, if we're honest with ourselves, this time last year or 6 months ago, 9 months ago, you loved these guys. You were looking at for their T-shirt, their little jersey, their jersey at the campus bookstore. You were waiting in line at the Fan Fest so that your kids could take pictures with them. What does it look like to you when these guys leave? Now that we've got the full sample size, the experience, we know what it is, right? And again, I fully acknowledge that it is a case-by-case basis. I doubt we'd be able to find a single Utah fan that begrudged Bryson Barnes transferring away from this program. He gave it his all. He was a wonderful story in the Rose Bowl and in the following years. He's a guy that just didn't have the ceiling that this team needed or expected in order to compete in a Power 4 level. They acknowledged it, and I think to some extent he acknowledged it, and he moved on to another in-state program, and he continued to be exactly what we knew he was. Gritty, tough, a really talented guy who probably was just better suited for that level. Now, I'm never going to disparage Bryson Barnes or say that he wasn't good enough to start or play at the University of Utah, because guess what? We saw him start and we saw him play at the University of Utah, and he did an admirable job in some situations. The ceiling needs to be a little bit higher if you're going to be a championship team, probably. And all parties looked at that situation and said, man, Bryson, we really would love to keep you on this roster. It'd be awesome to have you as a security safety blanket. But, man, we can't even ask that of you because you have earned an opportunity to be an every down starter for a major Division I football team. And he did. He went on and he did good things at Utah State, and now he's playing Canadian football. The pig farmer from a 1A school is a professional football quarterback. And I won't hear any, oh, well, it's at a different level, it's at a lower level. Knock it off. There are like, what do we say? There's maybe 150 people on the planet that are professional quarterbacks at any meaningful level. NFL backup, CFL starter, CFL backup. There's not that many.
Yeah, UFL, even when you count that, there's not that many.
UFL. So maybe we push it out to like 250. There's 250 quarterbacks, professional quarterbacks potentially, in all of football worldwide, American football worldwide.
He's one of them.
He gets to be one of those. Amazing. And because of his time at the University of Utah, partially, right? So that's a case where you're just like, yeah, man, I wish that kid success forever. I don't know if people at BYU feel that way about John Henry Daly when he goes to Utah and he excels there. I don't know if people at Utah are going to feel that way about John Henry Daly, who needs to have like a pretty miraculous injury comeback to be a factor this year, right? What's in his best interest as a human is not going to be a feel-good for a lot of Utah football fans.
Even though he's nowhere near your rival, there's a lot of hurt feelings about what happened with Kyle Whittingham going to Michigan and all the players and coaches he took. Absolutely. And going back to Bryson Barnes, the other reason you can't blame him is you remember that year, that was 2024. That was the ill-fated 2024 season. But going into the season, Cam Rising was coming back. They just signed the quarterback of the future, we thought, 4-star guy, one of only 3 4-star guys that they've ever had in the program at that time, Isaac Wilson, right? And so Bryson was like, I may not even be the immediate backup if I stay at Utah. He probably would have, but he's like, I need to go look at other places because they already have their quarterback room set.
Right.
That ended up not being the case because of injuries that season.
I like the text we're getting, 877-353-0700. I'm asking the question, when players leave, because by the way, when you're a Utah fan and you get the guys that come in, the Jefferson kid from Montana State, you're going to be rooting for him. You don't care what he did to Montana State fans. That was a national championship contender that he left.
They won last year.
That's right. You don't care that he, quote-unquote, left or abandoned that team, right? You're the beneficiary of this. It's like when you are the other woman or you're the other man, you don't have a lot of sympathy, obviously, for the jilted husband or wife. When Kyrie Scholes ends up as Utah's leading wide receiver, there's not a single Ute fan who's just going to be like, oh, condolences, San Jose State, right? And if you're at San Jose State, you're probably looking at it and going like, man, I really wish that kid wouldn't have left, but that's power football. He's moving up to a major conference. He's moving up to a perennial top 25 team. It makes sense that these guys do this. This coming in from Spencer on the text line. As a pretty recent college grad, I don't really mind seeing guys transfer away. They're literal kids, and a lot of college students don't like where they end up either, so they transfer. There's certain situations that might be worse than others, but overall, these are 18 to 21-year-olds. It's no surprise they might want to go try somewhere else. He also says, I'm a Montana State grad. I don't mind guys chasing bigger things at all. Some D1 big-time program guy who didn't get a chance usually ends up helping teams like Montana State. That's also true, right? This transactional thing that it's a transaction between players and programs now, but indirectly it's a transaction sometimes between programs and programs. Maybe someday we get a more cohesive model where you're looking at kind of a European soccer thing or an NHL hockey thing where you're like, okay, turns out that this elite prospect who's playing at Montana State was under-recruited out of high school, and he's at Montana State, and I want him at Texas. And this season.
Yeah.
And now this is in the future. We're collectively bargained, right? And Montana State's just like, all right, well, you can pay us a transfer fee of whatever, millions of dollars, like they do in European soccer, or you can do like they do in NHL hockey. Just be like, oh, you want to call this guy up to Texas? You want to call him up to SEC football? All right, well, what's my compensation package? What do I get back? And maybe the rules that exist at that point, maybe the powers that be are just like, cool, you get 4 extra scholarships because you're losing your best player. Or Texas has to send you 2 guys for the 1 or whatever else, right? I mean, I don't think we're ever going to get to a point where there's like actual trades happening in college sports, but you never know. Because if we just drop the charade and say, yeah, this is a professional league, you can start treating it like a professional league, maybe that stuff happens. As it stands now, college students actually have a lot more autonomy and decision-making over their own destination where they play than pro athletes do, which is bananas. But it is what it is. How do you feel about transfers? That's a well-articulated and I think very reasonable take from Spencer on the text line. Yes, I wish that Weber State always retained their best player. Can you imagine what Jack Kelly would have done if he had stayed at Weber State University? He'd have been a multiple-time All-American. He would have been a Defensive Player of the Year candidate in all of Division I AA football. He was he's on an NFL roster, for hell's sake. He was an excellent player at the Big 12 level. And while Big Sky football has some awesome talent.
Shout out to Montana State, too.
Like Jack Kelly, if he had stayed there, would have wrecked shop on everybody. It's like when Jared Allen, yes, that Jared Allen was at Idaho State University.
That's right. I forgot he was at a small school.
Yeah. Go find Jared Allen versus SUU from 2002. Go find it. It's probably out there on YouTube. Idaho State versus SUU 2002. Go watch what Jared Allen did to a terrible Southern Utah University team. Go watch what Jared Allen did at Idaho State University to, again, there's a couple of guys in those Big Sky rosters. There's a couple of offensive tackles who get their time in the league, who make their cup of coffee in the league. He is a first ballot Hall of Famer. There's levels to everything, right? That guy being in the Big Sky back then was like insane. When a guy transfers, are you the scorned ex-lover who is like, I cannot root for you, I cannot support you? I find myself judging these things very aggressively on a case-by-case basis. I'm asking this question because Pete Golding, the Ole Miss coach, just answered honestly, like, I told these guys if they leave, everyone in Oxford's going to hate them forever. And I don't even know if that's true, but it's a funny way to re-recruit somebody, right? You must know the players pretty well to appeal to that particular part of their personality. Like, oh, no, I don't want to be hated. Zach on the text line says, there's no point in being the scorned ex-girlfriend. These players have given blood, sweat, and tears for the program. I wish them the best. Again, a very reasonable take. I think it's the mature response. I also am not a booster or a donor, and this is where it gets a lot more interesting for me. Troy Aikman made these comments last year, right? There are people who directly and they directly bankroll certain teams. They directly bankroll certain players. And Troy Aikman talked about, like, yeah, I donated. And then, you get a handshake from some kid who doesn't even care about you and doesn't, not really that grateful. And then he leaves the next year. And he said, I'm not donating anymore. So there's that, right? I can applaud Jaquindon Jackson moving on. I can say good luck to you, Bryson Barnes. I can say John Henry Daly, I wish you the best. Keanu Tanuvasa, I like the kid, right? Go do your thing, man. Wish all the best for you and your family. Those things are true. But would I feel differently about it if my family foundation or my business or my pocketbook had handed that person directly or indirectly $500,000 in NIL money, $1 million in NIL money? If I were the guy, like Devin Dampier had an opportunity to leave Utah this last season. Arizona State was coming after him hard. Right? Apparently Miami was in the mix. There were teams, big-time teams, that were kicking the tires on Devin Dampier. If I'm one of the business owners, one of the boosters, one of the big-time donors that has made sure that Devin Dampier is happy, and then Devin Dampier leaves, I don't get a refund. Would I feel differently about the transfer? Probably so. So I think we might be in a situation in college football right now where the lowest stakes investors they're allowed to have kind of a more neutral stance on it. Yeah, the hardcore fan is still going to be like, I can't believe you left. I'm mad about you leaving, whatever. But I think a lot of people are just going to be like, yeah, man, like, go do your thing, pursue greatness, whatever you think that looks like. I would have preferred that you stayed, but I'm not mad at you. And then the ultimate adults in the room, the people that are like ultimately tasked with making your programs relevant, might be looking at it and going like, what? We meant nothing to this kid. My contributions meant nothing to this kid. And that's probably not true, but you would be justified in feeling that way, right? I mean, it's a very, very complicated picture, this whole transfer thing. This from Rob on the text line. I just Googled what people in Starkville, Mississippi feel about Lane Kiffin right now. Google said people are mostly bemused and secondly indifferent. Did I say Starkville or did I say Oxford?
Maybe you mixed up the cities, but that would make complete sense if that's how people in Starkville feel, because that's where their rival.
Yeah, Starkville
plays.
People probably don't have an opinion about Lane Kiffin at all, or they're just like, that guy was always a loser.
Yeah, they're laughing about Ole Miss's loss, probably.
Oxford,
yeah.
I thought I said Oxford.
You might have said it, but anyway.
Oxford people are going to hate Lane Kiffin. And by the way, it's a lot easier to do when you're talking about a coach. It's a lot easier to be like, I mean, if we poll the Utah fans that are mad about who you're maddest at, they're going to be like, well, I'm maddest at Kyle Whittingham, and then second I'm maddest at Jason Beck, and then BYU fans are going to be like, I'm maddest at Jay Hill, and then they're going to be like, also I'm maybe mad a little bit at John Henry Daly or Smith Snowden or whoever else.
Yeah, I feel like the players probably get less of the ire than the coaches. That's probably true. And it's because we continue and the tradition in how we've covered the sport, how fans root and follow the sport. We continue the tradition of the coach is the program. And so when that guy leaves, especially if you had a lot of success and you feel like he decimated the program, which typically happens when a guy leaves nowadays, because transfers follow him, coaches follow him. Your fans tend to be way more upset at the coach than the transfers who follow the coach.
Correct.
Yeah.
Good news. Eric Weddle's going to join us at 12:30 today.
Hey. Guy who's going to have his name up on the stadium.
Newly announced
September.
Ring of Honor inductee, Eric Weddle. That's
so cool.
Okay, I'm going to paint a picture that I don't want anyone to expect it, but I'm picturing a perfect storybook moment, okay? Eric Weddle and the family walk out onto the field to be acknowledged. Rice Eccles Stadium, everyone goes crazy, stands up, cheers, screams, whatever. His son, who will on Friday night will have played a high school football game in the state of Utah, is out there with Dad. He'll actually be the tallest guy in the lineup for the family picture, right? And he's got his Rancho Bernardo Broncos Letterman jacket on, and he just pops that bad boy off, and underneath, he's wearing a number 32 Crimson Weddle jersey because our guy Eric has said he will not be taking pictures. He will not be putting on a jersey for any school that he does not come to. All right? Put that positive energy out into the universe, people. All right?
How seriously though, how great would it be if Gage that weekend was like, by the way, I'm committing to Utah?
It'd be the sickest thing ever. But let me ask you this. Is that kind of like someone getting engaged at a wedding?
Yeah.
Is it
getting caught up in the moment?
You know what I mean?
Maybe you don't actually feel that way, but you're just getting caught up in the moment.
Well,
maybe.
It's also like it's like kind of not classy to do that, right? Yeah. You're like stealing the thunder from the bride and groom a little bit if you get engaged at the wedding.
He'd definitely have to have a conversation with his dad to make sure that his dad is okay with him doing that.
The thing is, Eric would be fine, right? Yeah. Eric is always way more about his kids than he is about himself.
Yeah.
But would that be like, because imagine you get the pop, oh, Weddle, we love you. And then, oh my gosh, his son.
We also love you, Gage.
Now we love you even more.
Other Weddle.
Just put that positive juju out into the universe, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not announcing that that's what's going to happen. I'm announcing that I would love if that did happen.
Be pretty cool.
We got to take a break. Gordy Chiesa is here with us in studio. We've got a lot to talk about in this NBA offseason, if there is such a thing. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Always great to have Gordy Chiesa here in studio with us. Gordy, welcome. How are you, sir?
Sean, I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Gordy, and the Conversations with Gordy brought to you by Aladdin Industries, your Velux dealer here in Salt Lake City and the greater state of Utah. Gordy, we are still holding our breath and waiting on a decision from LeBron James. It feels like that's the biggest, I don't want to say cloud, that sounds ominous, but it's the biggest thing hanging over the NBA right now is people want to know where one of the greatest players of all time finishes his career. When's it going to happen?
Soon. Now, soon means what? I would say probably the next week or so, and it's going to happen. And the speculation is that which team can he win a possible championship with? And so the two teams that he could really impact as far as winning a championship would be the 76ers and also the Timberwolves. Now the question is, if the T-Wolves add LeBron to that group, can they knock off the Thunder, and can they knock off the Spurs? And that's where it should be very interesting. The 76ers, they have a tremendous lineup. The pieces do fit. LeBron could add to that group tremendously. Now, the Cavaliers are in the mix also, so the Warriors, and so are the Miami Heat. But those teams aren't as ready to win a championship by adding LeBron. Economically, LeBron's going to sign for either the 10-year minimum, which is $3.88 million, meaning this. Anybody has 10 years credited service in the NBA, LeBron's got 23, but it's all relative. You can make
There's
minimum. It's all relative.
It doesn't keep going up after 10 years. There's not like a 15-year, a 20-year,
Right, that.
a 23-year minimum because nobody makes it that far.
You're exactly right. So it's $3.88 million, or he could sign for they call the exception, which happens every year, which basically is $6.1 million. So either or. So the economics. I know it's a lot of money in the real world, but in the basketball universe, it's not. So that's the question right now. He's holding up the NBA as far as all the other free agents because it's like a domino effect. It happens once in a while where a star player makes a decision to go to a certain team, and the rest of the league then falls back as far as wants and needs of the players. So LeBron, it's going to happen relatively soon. The NBA schedule, the algorithms, I'm sure it's 95% done. They're just waiting to make it official of where this guy goes because it does affect the opening game of the season, and also it affects Christmas Day, which is usually the highlight of the NBA as far as starting out their season as far as mainstream. The NFL rules, obviously, throughout the fall and up until February. And speaking of February, Sean, I make this point about to you and your loved ones, Sean, where do you really? Here's the question to Sean O'Connell. On Valentine's Day this year, you're laughing. See, on Valentine's Day this year, will Sean O'Connell and James Peterson, my two trusted friends here, will they be watching the Super Bowl or celebrating Valentine's Day? It's February 14th. Sean, I don't want to know the answer yet. I'm giving you about 8 months in advance to make that decision, you and James. You guys are both shaky as far as romance, so I just want to make that out to you.
I can answer your question already, and here's why. Because you got to marry a woman who's a sports fan.
True.
And then you get away with it. So I'll have to – it'll be an expensive Super Bowl for me because I'll have to get, like, fine foods and do a little whining and dining, so to speak. But, you know, my wife's a football fan.
Okay, February 14th. For all listeners out there, that Super Bowl Sunday is on Valentine's Day. See, Sean, I'm the opposite, where I would take romance any day over sports.
Oh, okay.
What are you laughing at?
Gordy.
Any day.
Come on.
Even though I'd never been home for Valentine, usually when I was a coach, we're always playing away. So let me preface that as far as saying it.
Coaching on the road, grinding it out for all those years, all those decades, you probably had to bank a bunch of, like, makeup holidays, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah, very, very much. No, absolutely. So LeBron right now is making up the NBA as far as holding it up. Now, quickly, here's just some guys that are waiting for LeBron to make a decision. And what a feeling where, wait a second, I'm really a good player. I'm an NBA veteran by 17, 18, 19 years, and we're waiting on one guy. Here's some of the guys right now waiting on LeBron's decision. James Harden, Draymond Green, Russell Westbrook, Spencer Dinwiddie, Jonathan Kuminga, Peyton Watson, Benedict Mathurin, DeMar DeRozan, George Niang, Kevin Love, Bradley Beal, Jalen Duren, Kelly Olynyk, Gary Payton II, Nick Batum, Spencer Jones, and also Doug McDermott. So those are all these free agents out there that are waiting to see how it all plays out, where they're not directly involved with LeBron's decision. However, everyone's waiting to see how it plays out, those teams right now. And if you're a restricted free agent, even worse, where, Sean, that you want to be on a certain team, but the team's not going to bid against themselves. And that's what makes it an awful feeling. So Jalen Duren of the Pistons and Benedict Mathurin of the Clippers, they're all out there, and they're waiting to see what happens as far as who's going to bid on them. That's our off-season right now. Showing you the segue to it, we mentioned that it's never the off-season, and this year it's even more elongated.
This LeBron's mind doesn't work the way that my mind works, right? But if I've been in the West for 8 years and I've been battling up against Western Conference teams to some success, to one championship, but not repeated dynastic types of success in LA, would it be as simple as like, hey, man, the West is tough. I'm more familiar with the West. Let me trade this for the devil I don't know and head to an Eastern Conference team. Do you think conference really has a significant weight in how he's going to make his decision?
No, I don't. No, because LeBron has enough confidence in himself that he thinks he can uplift an already established team to try and knock off the champions, which is right now Knickerbockers. And it's interesting, at this time last year, there was nobody, minus Jalen Brunson's wife, was saying that we're going to be great next year at this time, meaning Knickerbockers. So you just never know when you get a certain player, or plural, guys mature, that they could be champions. And with LeBron, right now, he's earned that right somewhat to make a decision. But again, there's rumors out there that he's waiting to see what happens with Anthony Davis of the Wizards, who was traded at the trading deadline, who got hurt last year, sat out. He's a major talent, though, I might add. His contract extension eligibility could be on August 6th. So it's possible that LeBron is waiting to see what the Wizards do with LeBron James. And remember, they have the same agent, Rich Paul of Clutch Sports, to see if he can get both those guys on a certain team and do it again, what he did for the Lakers, to try to add two clients that are elite talent. Both are one's injury prone, other one is somewhat aging. LeBron, he turns 42 on December 30th of this year of 2026. So again, there's so many subplots. It's very complicated, Sean. It's like a puzzle, and but the puzzle though is based on talent, and that's what makes it so dynamic and also drawn out.
Okay, I have some more questions about that dynamic that you just mentioned. Like if LeBron is kind of waiting to see if he can also add certain teammates to whatever roster he ends up on. If he's playing GM, there was a time in his career where you had to accept that because he was the best player in the league and he was this megastar mover and shaker who was going to be on prime time all the time. Now, he's still obviously an incredible basketball player. He's no longer the best player in the league. And I wonder if there's a certain amount of fatigue or worry even for a new franchise that he's going to come in and try to throw his weight around a little bit too much. So I want to stay on clock, but I want to talk about that when we return. And it's not just LeBron. It's any player in today's NBA, right? Because all of them want at least to be consulted on personnel decisions. But LeBron, it feels like maybe wants a little bit more than that, even as he's in the twilight of his career. Some reports suggesting that at least. So we'll get to that next. if you're an NBA GM, owner, franchise, are you willing to bring in a LeBron James who wants to be in charge? Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Sean O'Connell Show with Gordy Chiesa here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Reminder to all of you that are looking to maybe get out on a golf course this weekend, but you don't want to wait a long time on a holiday weekend. You don't want to pay a crazy fee. I've got a solution for you. It's called Stansbury Park Golf Course, just off I-80, west of Salt Lake City, out in Tooele County. $45 rounds on weekdays, $50 rounds on weekends. That's for 18 holes, not for 9. great pace of play, not crowded, gorgeous greens, incredible rates, a nice little gateway into Tooele County, easy to get to, and not the same kind of hassle you have at the more crowded courses in the Salt Lake Valley. Stansbury Park Golf Course. You can book a tee time now at stansburypark.gov/golf course. stansburypark.gov/golf course. Tell all the folks out there in Tooele County I said hello. All right, Gordy, we were talking about what everyone in the NBA world is talking about. Where's LeBron going to end up? What's LeBron going to do with this next couple of seasons? We assume he's going to play more than just the one, but it'll be a 2-year contract, it seems like, wherever he ends up. And there's all these suitors, right? There's all these potential destinations. The Miami Heat accidentally put a social media announcement out about a introductory press conference. Got a little panic around the league yesterday, for at least for a brief time. I was teasing this before we went to the break. The report today is that LeBron James, maybe something that's going to factor into his decision is whether or not he can link up with Kyrie, if he can link up with AD, if he can reunite with former teammates or people that he wants to play with. And there was a time in his career where LeBron James got to play GM a little bit. Is that window still open for LeBron James? Or are these NBA owners and coaches and teams saying, like, man, we really want you and we love you, but you got to just trust our process, not yours?
Very much. Yeah, that process is based on the team now. LeBron doesn't have that same leverage that he once had. So those teams will do what's best for them. Yeah, they want LeBron on their team because he's still a tremendous player and that he would enhance the group as far as winning, hopefully in their world, deep into the playoffs. But as far as him dictating the terms, it will not happen. His agent's Rich Paul of Clutch Sports, who's a very influential agency, in that he'll try to attempt to do it, but the teams will not blink. They're going to do what's best for them, and that they're going to try to make the money work, which is really nominal. But as far as if it's a sign and trade, hypothetically, for other players involved, is that those teams that are trying to capture an NBA title, they're going to do what's best for them, both short-term and long-term. So it happens, but not right now with LeBron. It's going to be a team-driven decision right now. The biggest thing is that where does he fit in to help a team go for a successful, deep playoff run? Remember, it's all about the playoffs now. It's not about just winning regular season. You're being judged by playoff or non-playoff success.
You talked about how LeBron is going to take the minimum, basically. It's
$3.88 million.
Which, by the way, will be the lowest salary he's ever taken in his NBA career. As a rookie, he made more money than that.
Correct.
Very funny. Of course, he's just fine. According to Sportrack, the career earnings of LeBron James so far, $581,375,548. That's his NBA salary. Says nothing of his external endorsements or the production company he's involved in or any of that.
Yeah, or the contracts with Nike, all the different things that he has. So he's made over $1 billion, over $500 million as far as his NBA salary. And that's the growth of the NBA. The salaries have increased so much because of the TV partnerships of the mega deals that they sign, and the Players Union benefits from it by the salary cap. The salary cap this year is $165 million. And so that, with that said, is that the players are the benefactor of it, where they're going to receive certain things as far as economics. So in the NBA, when we talk about, just in quick terms, mid-level exception, this year is $15 million, which means in layman's term that half the NBA players make an annual salary above $15 million and half make below. The biannual exception, which LeBron might sign for, is $5.5 million. I mentioned earlier, Sean and I a second ago, the 10-year veteran minimum, whether you play 10 years or 23 years, is $3.88 million. All right. This number now is the one that you can relate to as far as your own job. This is how crazy the NBA is as far as salaries in this generation. Next year, the 26-27 season, the lowest you can get paid in the NBA, if you're a rookie that didn't get drafted, you made an NBA team after January 10th, which is with the deadline is salary. The lowest you can get paid this year, Sean, is $1.35 million. That is absolutely the lowest, $1.35 million. If you're a second-year player, you made a team last year, you fought for your life, you finally made a team again this year, the lowest you get paid is $2.1 million as a one-year credited service in the NBA. Last point about this is two-way G League contracts. So a guy, you hear the expression all the time, he's on a two-way contract. This year for a two-way contract is $678,000. That's a two-way contract player. Last one, Exhibit 10 contract. That's the guys that didn't sign a two-way contract but are invited to NBA Veterans Camp. They get cut. They go to the NBA affiliations. We're saying Utah, it would be the Salt Lake City Stars, is that those players will make $91,000 as far as a bonus if they stay on the team for 60 days but not going overseas, plus another $45,000 by their NBA contract, which is paid by the NBA. So you make it roughly around $145,000 a guy in Exhibit 10 contract. So that's the economics of it. LeBron's the ultimate. So Stephen Curry, who's the highest paid player in the NBA this year, he's going to make $62 million. So I know it sounds crazy. It's outrageous, these numbers. We talk about millions of dollars like it's $60. But that's the fact of the NBA.
Okay. I love trying to stump Gordy. It doesn't work very often, but I love trying to stump him. So I'm going to try to stump you right now if you're
Sure.
okay with that, Gordy.
Oh, absolutely.
2026, 2027, according to NBA.com, the NBA salary cap will be $164.9 million per team.
Correct.
Okay? And we'll just leave it at that. We're not going to get into aprons or things like that.
Right, exactly. It's confusing for the listeners.
The first collectively bargained salary cap instituted in the NBA happened after the merger. It started the 1984-1985 season. Do you know what the salary cap per team was in 84-85?
Okay, now it's the Larry Bird. The cap started because Larry Bird, where Red Auerbach told the NBA, wait a second, our star player is great for the league. I can't re-sign him. All right, so the first cap in 1984. All right, I am guessing it's going to be, okay, 84. $38 million.
$3.6 million. That doesn't sound right. It's got to be more than that, right?
I think it is. I think.
According to Basketball Real GM,
Okay.
and according to the Groks and the Googles, it's $3.6 million. And then it went to 4.2, 4.9 for 2 years, 6.1, 7.2. You got up into double digits, $11 million in 1990, 1991 for the salary cap.
And now it's 165.
And now it's 100 and that's insane.
It's insane, right?
And
again,
projected to be, by the way, in 2034, 2035, $244 million is the projected salary cap.
right, and add to that. So as far as for the fans' point of view, that Victor Wembanyama and Luka Doncic and Cooper Flagg will be the first three players that will ever make $100 million in a season, an NBA regular season, which is really incredible. Think about your favorite movie star in Hollywood, he or she, and what they make as far as a mega movie, or your most famous director, Christopher Nolan, someone like that with Odyssey right now coming out. What he makes on a movie.
You going to see that in the theater, by the way?
I am.
Yeah.
I'm going to see it.
I think I'm going to see it. Normally, I wait until movies come out on airplanes because I travel so much.
Right. Yeah,
that one I got to see in the theater, I think.
absolutely.
He filmed it in IMAX for us to see it. Come on.
Very much also. As a matter of fact, Sean, what is your go-to thing at the movie theater? What do you eat? What's your snack?
Oh, man.
Oh, is it more than one?
No.
Oh.
I'm cheap, Gordy, so I usually smuggle things in.
Smuggle.
You know what I mean?
Oh, my.
Allegedly. allegedly, I don't want to incriminate myself, but I allegedly bring my own snacks into the movie
Okay.
theater quite often. You can get them at the movie theater, but an old traditional Mike and Ike, that's a great movie snack.
Okay.
You remember the Mike and Ikes?
I do,
You
yeah,
eat the Mike
sure.
and Ikes?
Yes.
Not they have a bunch of exotic flavors. They got like the berry mix and the tropical mix. I like the regular Mike and Ikes.
My go-to for the last, I'm dating myself, the last 65 years would be Junior Mints.
Okay.
That's it.
That's like my dad. My dad loves a Junior Mint. All right. We've been talking about the economics of this NBA offseason. We've been talking about the economics of NBA basketball. Gordy, I want to dive a little bit deeper into this because there's teams, there's contracts being handed out, and you and I were talking in the last break about maybe like bang for the buck on certain players. So we're going to start hour number 2 with that after a quick break. Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. All right, welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show. Gordy Chiesa, brought to us by Aladdin Industries, is here for another 20-something minutes. Eric Weddle's going to join us right after that. He'll be with us at 12:30 to talk about the recently announced induction into the Ring of Honor at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Looking forward to that conversation with my friend. Gordy, this offseason, we were just talking about it during the break, offseason for football for another couple of months here, offseason in basketball right now, and you got no numbers, you got no stats, you got no points being scored, but perhaps the more important numbers, the balancing of these books, the economics of these sports. We were diving into salary caps and the percentage of salary cap money that players represent right now. For a little bit of fun, Gordy, during the break, we were doing an exercise. The biggest cap hit in the NFL this year, Matthew Stafford is going to be a $48 million hit against the Rams cap. The salary cap in the NFL this year is $301 million. So he's gobbling up nearly 1/6 of the overall money for the LA Rams, who just acquired also Myles Garrett and are talking to Aaron Donald about coming out of retirement. I mean, it is trying these GMs, they got tough jobs, Gordy, and I know you did a bunch of research. You got a bunch of numbers on that sheet in front of you.
Yeah, very much, yeah. So the offseason right now, that the ownership level and management, they absolutely earned every cent that they are able to accumulate, because they make the better teams that I call it wicked smart decision makers, that they have understand the value of certain players. Now, here's the top 7 contracts this offseason in free agency. I stopped at 7. So when you're driving in the car right now on I-15, you say to yourself, is that money worth for that player right now? Number 7, the highest this offseason contract, Kobe White of the Hornets. He signed for 3 years, $74 million. The 6th highest, Isaiah Hartenstein of the Thunder, 3 years, $75 million. The 5th highest contract offseason, Tari Eason of the Rockets, 5 years, $81.5 million. The 4th highest, Ian Dusumo of the T-Wolves, who's vastly underrated, I might add, and it helps the T-Wolves tremendously. He got 5 years at $112 million. The 3rd highest offseason for all the Jazz fans, here we go, Walker Kessler got 4 years, $129.5 million by the Lakers. The 2nd highest offseason contract as far as free agency, Austin Reeves, also the Lakers, 4 years, $150 million. And the highest contract this offseason is by the Wizards. Trae Young signed for 4 years, $212.8 million offseason. So there's some that I like very much, and some I can't believe what I'm saying out loud and what I'm reading. A high contract in free agency, it's validated only if that person adds postseason game success. If it doesn't, then the team use regretful dollars later on. They admit it. Playoff wins justify money spent. So the question right now would say for the Lakers is Austin Reeves and Walker Kessler. Will the Lakers someday have regretful dollars as far as what they spent on that? And we're going to find out the next 2-3 seasons. Jazz basketball. Jaren Jackson's contract right now, as far as cumulative, this year coming up, the salary cap, 29.7% of the salary cap of 165 is given to Jaren Jackson, and Larry Markkinen is 28% of the salary cap goes to Larry Markkinen. And the 3rd highest percentage-wise for Jazz basketball salary cap, ironically, Sean, is Darren Peterson, who's a rookie. So that just shows you.
Wow.
So that you've got to, and it backfires dramatically or is tilted in a negative direction if that player, misses more than 15 games. So when you're paying a lot of these players a whole bunch of money, if they don't play in minimum 67 games or more, that affects absolutely the team's success, both regular season and postseason. And so the economics of it is absolutely critical. And again, the better teams get the contracts correct towards winning. And we shall see, as far as in the NBA landscape, what happens as far as everybody.
So staying on this tack of, committing a certain – it's not avoidable. You can't not pay your top players a bunch of money, right? The market dictates what the market dictates. For a franchise and a team like the Utah Jazz, who have been paying some of these prices and then saying, you know what, we want you to sit down anyway. We're tanking here. We're preparing ourselves for higher draft picks. We know you're the highest paid guy on the team, but we're not going to really ask you to fight through a bump or a bruise or anything like that because it's not important to us right now. Suddenly it becomes important that Lauri Markkanen stays not just healthy, but like really healthy. Like Lauri Markkanen being available when Lauri Markkanen is such a massive percentage of your salary cap is, I mean, it's the whole thing. It's if you got those guys on the floor, you can compete and potentially win. If you don't, it's doomsday all over again. So knowing that you've invested this in, I'm using Lowry as the example because he is that guy for the Utah Jazz, and Jaren Jackson Jr. is right there in that same category. Know that you're putting a lot of eggs in those baskets. How much do you have to pay attention to the trend of the injuries and what injuries were real versus what injuries were kind of embellished for the sake of tanking?
Yeah, very much. But this year in Jazz basketball, there's no more at all tanking. Absolutely not, Sean. So this time it's the Jazz are playing to win, and I'm sure the players they want to win, and the coaches absolutely want to win, and so do the fans, and I'm sure everyone involved wants to win. So it's been 4 years of the process, and now hopefully that it makes sense because the Jazz have good players, but they have to be available. And so that's the question as always. And every team goes through this right now. So it's not only Jazz basketball, it's all the other 29 NBA teams where it's such a factor who gets hurt. And that's why you've got to build quality depth where you can't replace a certain player that's a star performer that's injured, but you could win some games by consensus in team building of that at a certain position you might be lacking, but other positions that you're really overstacked in a good way, and your rosters during the course of a game, you might go small or go ultra big to win the game as far as and develop your team that way. So you try to bob and weave after an injury. But it's all based on depth right now, even though we know that in the fourth quarter of most NBA games, especially in the playoffs, oh, by the way, who is your knockout talent? Who can score the ball on their own on a short clock? You can go organize one-on-one and make a jump shot or drive in the lane, get the ball into the paint and kick it out for the corner for a three-point shot, or go old school N1, attack the rim, and go at the defensive body to get a basket and a foul shot to change momentum. And that's the question right now. So in Jazz basketball, that there's always a factor as far as the salary cap. It affects everyone in professional sports. This is the reality of it. I know most people in the real world, Sean, if they get a contract, they're ecstatic. And X amount of money, these players we're talking millions of dollars, and because they have a certain talent. NBA, NFL is a talent league. Now the question is, how do you value the talent, and how can you validate a person's salary? That's the issue. It's that gray area, and it's based on winning. So, Sean, what is Victor Wembanyama worth to the Spurs economically?
Immeasurable.
You got that right. What about Steph Curry?
Same.
You can't put a number on it because what they do for their franchises. This is Steph's 18th year, starting next 3 months from now, NBA. And this will be Victor Wembanyama's fourth season. What is he worth as far as jersey numbers, selling, etc.? The whole situation with the Spurs. That's the price.
You will never find an overpaid Victor Wembanyama or an overpaid Steph Curry. You can't overpay those types of guys. You can overpay other people in this league. We've seen it a lot.
Oh, very much.
So,
Sean, that's another statement. With Sean, said decades I've been saying this. Whether you pay somebody $6 million or $26 million, they play the same. They play the same. That they don't they whether it's 6 million or 26 million, they play the same.
I've never heard it put exactly like that, but there's no argument against it, right? Because if you're a $6 million player and you're out there being like, well, I'm only paid $6 million, so I'm not competing all that hard, you're not on the floor, right? So you're doing your best no matter what kind of money you're making.
Very much. And the guy makes, say, 26 million. For the narrative is that he plays like a guy makes 6 million. Now, it's not his fault that he's getting paid like that. No, it's not. It's the management group and circumstances. See, sometimes in the NBA professional sports that there's wild cards where the dominoes fell and they fell in your behalf this off season, where they had to sign somebody and they dramatically overpaid a certain player because he fits the criteria of a positional need. And at that instant, this off season, there wasn't too many other options. So that's why that player probably dramatically overpaid. Now, example, every NBA player thinks they're underpaid. So it's the other situation. And that's how you have to think, because you're a confident young person, and that's how you would view the world according to you, not according to winning. And again, the Knickerbockers showed us right in front of us 2 months ago where they really were a team, and that those role players absolutely played great for the Knickerbockers as far as what they did, and they superseded their contracts. So I just described some of the players that Knicks had right now where they really were able to do that. So someone like Landon Shaman, off the bench, comes in the game. Josh Hart, OG Anunoby. Those guys come in games. Miles McBride. Those guys come in the game, and they really help the group as far as Knickerbocker winning. So the star players, whatever they paid them, they delivered. But also those role players that absolutely their contract, they superseded. That's how you win.
Gordy Chiesa for another couple of minutes here on the Sean O'Connell Show. So as we talk about the economics of this league and the guys who have, fit in where they fit in, the max-type players, the Utah Jazz made a decision this offseason where, you have an extension for Walker Kessler potentially coming. You have an extension for Keontae George potentially coming. And it felt like that conversation started to get interesting because how can you keep both of them? And obviously there was some disagreement between what Walker thought he was worth and the team thought he was worth. And obviously you've now avoided that problem. He's no longer with the team, et cetera. But then the question becomes, and it's not a question for today necessarily, but it's a question for the team to answer down the road. What does Keontae George need to do this year in order for Keontae George and his representation to go to the Utah Jazz next year and be like, all right, now it's time to pay us $30 million plus per year?
Very much, yeah. He drives winning, Keontae George. He had a tremendous year last year. The maturity factor kicked in, where he shot the ball at a rhythm, which is commendable, and that also that he's pass happy. So when he drives in the lane and penetrates, his third season in the NBA, he was able to make better decisions. Usually speaking, when you're an NBA player, that the game slows down as you enter your third or fourth year, where you realize how fast the recovery of the defensive players are, and that you see things much earlier and make better choices with the ball. What are some of the choices? Pull-up jump shot, kick it out to the corner, short lob pass to the short corner spacer on the baseline. So Keontae George has done that. And also his shooting has gotten dramatically better, and he's more verbal. Defensively now, that's the issue. He's got to be more of a junkyard dog defender where he's going to use his chest and use his hands more without dramatically over-fouling, but to do a better job of ball containing. And that's all Jazz players, but also it's many players in the NBA as far as everybody. The ability to guard the ball, which we call guard a yard, meaning 3 feet as the dribble advances down the floor or in the scoring area. So Keontae George can do that. He has enough talent, and his maturity has kicked in beautifully, and that I'm looking forward to seeing him play. He should have a tremendous year in his 4th season in the NBA. Add to that, when you're homegrown, as far as the Jazz drafting you, they, like all teams, they look at you. They look at you differently in a good way. Where we drafted him in good faith, he has developed, and we're watching him very closely. And that a player's personality. See, so much of giving a contract to a player is based on what? Also, slightly their personality. Is he upbeat or is he moody? And I'm sure with Keontae George, he's upbeat, and that's all part of it. You never want to pay somebody, Sean, when the person's moody. I'll put it this way, Sean. If you're in the NBA or in the NFL, Sean, if your quarterback or your point guard is moody, everybody in the building is moody now. Everybody's moody in the building because he's the leader on the court, on the field. And if he's moody, Sean, the guy selling hot dogs in the 27th row, Sean, yo man, you want 2 dogs or 3 dogs? He's moody also.
That guy gets moody now.
Sean, I'm exaggerating. No, I'm not. So you never want to have a moody point guard. Never.
Gordy, last time we had you on, you teased something, and then we talked about it. The Wilt Chamberlain warm-up jacket that was found at a Goodwill. Paid $3.07 for it, sold it for $89,600. Back in the day, right, things like that. Who knows how a Wilt Chamberlain warm-up jacket from the NBA Finals ended up in a Goodwill bin.
In Seattle.
But the fact that, I mean, how many guys back in the day, the early days, appreciated and understood, the importance of like their own uniform, their game-worn jersey, the ball from the game, like the memorabilia thing. Obviously, it's become a huge part of the business now, but take me back to your early days in basketball and professional basketball. Were guys paying attention to that kind of stuff?
No, they were not. No, they were not. So Wilt Chamberlain was his force of nature. He passed away back in 1999 at age 63. He had this gold warm-up jacket. So it was a Lakers warm-up jacket, and it was gold, and it was really striking. And that it sold recently at an auction for $89,000, and it's amazing. All right, in yesteryear, Sean. So, for example, say Karl Malone. You guys are so young. I'm talking to right now, but there's a thing called L.A. Gear. Remember those, Sean?
Yeah.
Okay, L.A. Gear had Karl Malone had this sneakers with the lights on the back of the heels. It was absolutely incredible, cool to have them. I have a pair myself.
So Joe Montana was also with L.A. Gear at the time.
Okay, there you go.
And that's probably, as a kid, that's probably the coolest pair of shoes I got.
You got that right. Absolutely. And so Karl had these signature shoes. Now, all players have them. But back then, this is the early 90s. This is like almost like yesteryear. Right now, it's what, 2026? So 1992. And again, that was the Olympics, the Barcelona Olympics in 92, and that's when the NBA players played in it. However, what happened with the NBA is that they banned the sneakers because it was distraction, Sean. So Karl wore them in games. He took them out in the All-Star game as far as showing everybody about the sneakers, but the NBA did ban it as far as playing in regular season. But the best part about it, it still sold. And so things like that was the first time ever that memorabilia became part of it. And now it's absolutely a multi-billion-dollar business, and it's absolutely great. Sean, also a lot of times movie stars and rock musicians. So Jimi Hendrix and those people, their paraphernalia as far as different things, people will spend millions of dollars as far as having it. And that's what makes the beauty of it. So Wilt sold this right now, and good for him, his legacy.
Really incredible. What's your list today, Gordy?
My list today, Sean, is Utah Jazz players now. New Orleans Jazz, Utah Jazz, All-Star Game selections. How many Jazz players, both in Utah and New Orleans, were selected to the All-Star Game, which is the mid-season showcase contest? The following players here have made one All-Star team for the Jazz. They are Truck Robinson, Ricky Green, Mike Conley, Mark Eaton, Andre Karolinko, Mehmet Okur, Gordon Hayward, and Larry Markkinen. And with Larry Markkinen, right on cue, we talked about him recently, is that he made the All-Star team back in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
All right, these next two players did it twice, Darren Williams and Carlos Boozer. The next four players did it 3 times, made the NBA All-Star game. They are Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, Adrian Dantley, and Pete Maravich. The next player did it 10 times. John Stockton made the NBA All-Star game double digits. And the number one Utah Jazz player to play in 14 NBA All-Star games is Karl Malone. That's my list of today. Quickly, what about the future Jazz players? You get the feeling that maybe Keontae George can make an All-Star team. Sean, maybe Jaren Jackson, who did it with the Memphis Grizzlies. Maybe Darren Peterson. Maybe Ace Bailey. So there's people out there that could make an All-Star game, and that's why it's so critical with the young people.
The expectation, right, is that Ace Bailey and Darren Peterson are eventual All-Stars. You don't draft people in the top 5 without expecting them to be future All-Stars, right?
That is correct, absolutely. Quickly, just in landscape, the most ever All-Star game selections is, right on cue, LeBron James. 22 times he was voted to the All-Star in his 23 seasons. Second most ever All-Star appearances is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He did it 19 times. And the last one, Kobe Bryant, third all-time. He was selected to the NBA All-Star game 18 times. So the Lakers have all 3 guys that play for them, meaning LeBron, Kareem, and Kobe, all have the most ever All-Star games, which shows you the Lakers, Sean, how elite franchise those guys are with so many championships, one behind the Celtics of all time.
We got some. You sent me down a rabbit hole. LA Gear.
Yes.
LA Gear's still hanging on, just barely.
Okay.
You can still buy some LA Gear shoes. They got some good stuff.
I'm glad you told me that.
We might have to. What size of shoe you wear, Gordy?
10 and a half.
All right. We might have to get some show shoes. You know what I mean?
I like it.
Gordy, you're the man. Thank you for coming in the studio again.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Sean.
you.
Peace out.
Eric Weddle next. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Utah football begins their first camp under Morgan Scalley on August 3rd. We just got an email about the media policies under the new head coach during the season. We'll get to that eventually. I'm going to have to talk to Morgan soon. But we're lucky enough to be welcomed by my good friend, Crimson Club Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion, all everything Ute, and now recently announced 2026 inductee into the Ring of Honor at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Eric Weddle here on the Sean O'Connell Show. E-Dub, how are you, sir?
What's up? What's up? Thanks for having me on. It's always good. Always good to be on with my brother. Did that media release say that Morgan will only take questions after the game and nothing else?
The media release said we are not going to get to watch any practice. I'm mad. I'm mad we're not going to get to watch any. I just want a one-on-one pass rush drill every now and again.
How dare he not get any inside scoop for our guys?
Oh, it's fine. Let him do his thing. I'm excited for him and all this. But, yeah, I wanted to have you on, obviously. And we're going to be having conversations every week during the football season, as we like to do. But, this is an incredible thing, man. By extension, I'm just proud to know you. You're going to go into the Ring of Honor, dude. That is Hall of Fame is one thing. This is another level. Tell me the process. Tell me how you found out about it. Walk me through what it was like when this thing came to fruition for you.
Yeah, I mean, Chanel and I celebrated our 21-year anniversary yesterday.
Congrats. That in itself is a massive accomplishment.
Thank you. I know. Who wants to stick around with me for that long, let alone 21 years, and we got eternity left. So, I was just sitting there. We had a great day together and spent time, and I just sat there and I said, I really can't believe that I'm going in the Ring of Honor. My name is going to be in that stadium for the rest of the time. And I really was just sat there in silence because just in shock. I think it really hit me because I was told in spring ball, they announced when that video clip when I was speaking to the team, Mark announced it to everybody that I was getting inducted, and just really cool and just speechless. I just think, when we talk all the time, you think about your career and you think about the good times, the bad times, the ups and downs, the hard times. I just go back to the guys and the relationships and the team, and stuff like this doesn't happen without everyone, right? I can't do it, never could do it by myself, and just thinking about how the amazing times at Utah and the relationships and the friendships and the family. I mean, we got a house up there. My daughter's going to be going to school up there in the state. And it's just, I look back and think how amazingly blessed I've been and fortunate to be at a school that I call home now.
Your kids are an age now where they have a better understanding and a better appreciation of this type of stuff, right? When you were in the league, I don't know, they were young for a lot of that. And you'd have to tell me how much they were able to kind of absorb and appreciate and understand the unique situation that your family was in and how, your job was so different from every other job. But now your kids are older. I mean, your son obviously has his own football aspirations. Your daughters are athletes too. What is it like for them, do you think, to see Dad's name is on the side of a football stadium, like you said, forever because of his work ethic, because of what he did as a member of this team. What is this like for your family, for your kids?
It's kind of puts things in perspective of what we try to teach them of hard work and giving it your all, but also trying to leave an imprint on who you are as a person and a lasting legacy of whatever you're doing. Every day you can do that. You can have an impact. And then if you're lucky enough and fortunate enough and have a lot of things go your way for a number of years, then something like this could happen. It could happen for anyone. And for me, coming from Rancho Cucamonga, California, and finding my way up to the University of Utah, who would have ever thought in a million years, right? And if you just go for it and try your best. I think I always tell myself, I tell my kids, I tell anyone that is around me that the hard work will always prevail. And I really believe that. If you're willing to work and put yourself out there and do things that others aren't willing to do, it'll prevail in some way, some form or fashion. It'll come back around. And I think that it's a true testament of how I try to do things. And now my kids can see it and be involved and understand it to an extent is really special.
That mentality obviously goes a long way in every walk of life. How natural has that been for you versus how much of it has been like, I don't want to do this workout. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to do this film session, but I got to talk myself into it, or my wife is going to help me do this, or whatever it is, because I know it's necessary. Because there are some people, right, that are talented in this way. Work ethic is one of their talents. Where do you fall on that spectrum?
Shoot, that's a good one. I think we all have special abilities per se, special talents to reach the pinnacle. But I think work ethic has to be near the top of that list. And I think for me, it definitely was something that separated myself than everyone else. That when I took the field every week, that no one had outworked me or outprepared me. And I think that goes for anything in life. If you're willing to put in the work and do hard things, that's usually what successful people are.
Eric Weddle is our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show. He is, of course, recently announced as the 2026 inductee to the Utah Football Ring of Honor. His name will go up there alongside Alex Smith, Ron McBride, Roy Jefferson, and whoever else gets added in the years after this. Now, logistically, this is not always easy because you got your own life. You're a coach. You're a head coach. So the timing of it, correct me if I'm wrong, you're going to be coaching a game here on the Friday night against Westlake, and then you guys are just hanging out for the football game on Saturday against Arkansas? Is that how this works?
So, actually, Westlake's coming to us.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
I told when they first told me that, when the College Football Hall of Fame got announced, not too long after that, Mark and Rudy and those guys said, we got to, you're up next because we can't have you go in the Hall of Fame and you're not in our Ring of Honor yet. And I don't think I was on the forefront of doing this as the Ring of Honor guys. Like I've just looked in the past, and historically we've had just some incredible people come through our program. I'm like, Mark, we got to do something to commemorate the amazing guys that have come through this program. And I said, hey, like I'm not doing it for myself. Like if my time comes, it's great. Like, well, let's get to these older guys first. And so, but I also told them, I was like, look, do not schedule me for a Division II, Division I on AA opponent. I'm not coming. I want to see a real game. It's gonna be during my season. I'll make it work, but I want to see a great game, and let's make sure that happens. So it worked out. As long as Arkansas was after anything after 2:00, I can make it up. And I think it's going to be a night game, so that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it will be a night game. So yeah, I got that wrong. So Westlake going to you, and then you and the whole crew, I imagine, right? Your family's coming, the whole Weddle clan coming.
Yeah, the whole clan will be there. Debating on Silver because as most people know, they won nationals, so she's competing in Worlds in Italy in September, which actually she flies out that Saturday.
Oh, wow.
To Italy. And then Chanel and I are flying out that Tuesday to go watch her compete, which I actually got to miss a game coaching. But for all you dads out there, when you have a moment to put your kid before anybody else, even though I have 100 kids that I'm overseeing, you got to make sure your kids know that they come first.
That's great advice, I think, for all of us. By the way, I appreciate this about you because while you never lack for confidence, you're not a man of great ego. And I'm like, okay, we did this when it was announced that the Ring of Honor was going to become a thing. Like, who's a shoe-in? Who is somebody that absolutely gets their name put in there? And, you think of the consensus All-Americans. You think of the guys that were integral on the championship teams. Alex gets, I think, correctly the honor of being the first one to go in there. He was not even a consensus All-American. So, like, before you, there were only a couple of guys that received that level of honor nationally in the college football world. So, while I appreciate about you, you're like, we got to honor some of these old guys. Like, you are one of the old guys now. The team, the program didn't have like a ton of elite competitors prior to you. Obviously, you helped pave the way for a bunch of guys after you, but there's not a ton that had accomplished careers like you did before you came through.
Well, first of all, I haven't even hit my prime yet. So let's make sure everyone understands that and knows that when you see old E-Dub run around, that he can get out there and run around for a little bit.
Perfect.
Just one play, and then everything will be torn. So, yeah, I mean, I just think, like, you guys know me. I know, like, I don't say this to be, I'm a confident guy. I know where I stand in the grand scheme of things in University of Utah football. Like, I don't need to be put out there before others who I think are just as deserving or maybe more. But just a lot of people don't know about them. So, like the Lusts of the world, like Jordan Gross had an amazing career. Luther, like there's so many, and even after me. So, I just love that. I love the place. I love the guys and the connection that we have as the university and as his teammates and ex-players and even alumni like Steve Smith of the world and, Mark Anderson. Like there's so many guys that you can think of that have come through before me or after me, and we're all in the same boat. So it's really surreal,
Dub,
honestly.
Dub,
Really
respectfully, you're not all in the same boat. There's not a lot of guys who are in your boat, dude. Like, respectfully. What do you have any special insight on whether or not Aaron Donald is going to be with the Rams this year? I know you're in the group chat.
Let's get down to the real stuff, okay? I'm talking about really why I want you on is Aaron Donald coming back.
I mean, look, what's the point of having friends like you if I don't get extra information? Like I know you're in the group chat. I know you and McVay are picking each other's brains all the time. So what's happening with the Rams?
I honestly haven't talked to Sean about AD yet. All things considered, and I talked to, who did I talk to with this about? One of the NFL guys, sports, I don't remember. But basically it's like, all right, you're AD, you've accomplished everything you could imagine. You have your Super Bowl, you're healthy, you got kids, you're in a great routine lifestyle. Do you really want to come back to the grind, both mentally and physically? Like, that's really what he's got to answer, and he's really got to be 100% committed to, because can he play physically? Of course he could. Could he get ready to play a game in a couple weeks? Yeah, like, I don't deny that one bit. It's just more so, do you want to come back and you're getting paid $1 million instead of $25 million? Do you want to come back and go through where you can't move the next day for what? Like, to win another Super Bowl? Yeah, that's important, but is it? So I don't know. I can 100% believe that he'll come back like maybe the last 4 games of the season and work his way through it and then be ready to rock for the playoffs, even get some reps the last couple games. But I don't see him going through the whole season. I don't. I just don't.
So one Super Bowl is enough for you, and you think one Super Bowl should be enough for AD?
regardless of whether he wins another Super Bowl, he's going to be one of the best. Arguably, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. If you had that upper echelon Hall of Fame that like some people talk about, he's in it. If you had one above that, he's in it. So you're talking about like the 20 greatest football players in the history of the game. He's probably in there. So in my mind, and I just go back to why I retired the first time was I didn't want to do it anymore. More so mentally than physically, and it was just a lot of pain. My circumstance come back 2 years later was very different. Like they had nobody else. I knew it was the max of 5 weeks. I could shut everything down. Like you've been away from the game and now integrating yourself back into the team for a whole season. Like just for me doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now the last quarter of the season to get some rest, get your feet wet, get your body ready to take on some double teams, and then go from there. Like I think he could do that. And it would be impactful. I don't see him doing a whole season.
All right, Utah begins camp on August 3rd. When do you start with your Rancho Bernardo Broncos?
The RB Broncos, we are still in summer workouts, getting that work in. Guys don't like me. A lot of good lifting and running right now, which is important to make sure we're ready to rock. You know, in California, since we're so smart, we started the 31st, 5-day acclimation period, and then we finally can put on full gear and do live tackling. We only get 12 days before our first scrimmage.
Ouch.
And then 19 days before our first game. So not a whole lot of time to get my boys ready, more on the safety aspect of playing the game the right way, but that's kind of the uphill battle of scheduling things. And so we start the 31st. We have our first scrimmage the 16th, and then our first game the 23rd, and we're ready. We're rocking and rolling from there.
Well, I'm very excited for you to be going into the Ring of Honor. I'm excited that we'll see you on the 12th. More importantly, man, congratulations. It's really awesome that you get this honor and that we all know you like we do, and I appreciate you joining the show. We'll do it again on a regular basis this season.
You got it, bro. Love you. And look forward to seeing you guys. Go Utes! Let's get ready for a special season, baby. I see it. I see it in the mist. Utes! College playoff! National champ! Woo!
That's what we need. That's why we love our guy, Eric Weddle. Oh, man. The best there is. And obviously that's the reason he's going into the Ring of Honor. The second player to go in from the modern era. Roy Jefferson, all respect, I think comes from the, the black and white era, the sort of like the historic era of Utah football. Alex Smith, Eric Weddle, Roy Jefferson, and of course, Ron McBride. That's going to be fun. It's going to be a great day when we get to induct our guy. And yes, we will have him. We'll at least try to have him every single week during the football season. Sounds like that week following the induction into the Ring of Honor might be pretty busy for him because his daughter is competing in a world championship in acrobatics. So pretty neat stuff for the Weddle family coming up. And, of course, we'll keep you updated on all things with Utah football and the recruitment of the next Weddle the Younger, as we like to call him. All right, we've got a little daily dump coming. We've got Bobby Marks still to come, but we'll do that in hour number 3. I love a good list. You guys know I love a good list. And The Athletic took the time to rank every projected starter in college football. They put them into tiers. Let's find out where Devin Dampier is. Let's find out where Bear Bachmeier is. Let's find out where the other Big 12 quarterbacks are out, shall we? We'll do that next on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show. The Athletic, specifically Sam Conn Jr. and Antonio Morales of The Athletic, took the liberty of ranking every single projected starter in Division I football from 1 to 138. An ambitious project, you might say. And they organized them into tiers. They also told you whether or not this person was a returning starter, was a transfer player, was an incoming freshman, etc. Tier 1 looks like this. Trinidad Chambliss, Dante Moore, CJ Carr, Darian Mensah, Julian Sayin, Drew Mestamaker, Arch Manning, Sam Levitt. I don't know if I would put Sam Levitt in that Tier 1 category, but I'm kind of a hater, so I'll at least allow for that possibility that he belongs there. Tier 2. Start to see some familiar names here. Jaden Mayava, Noah Fafita, Gunnar Stockton, Josh Hoover, obviously former TCU quarterback, now at Indiana. Marcel Reed, Jaron Kiave Sangapolo-Tele, who's at Cal. Kevin Jennings, John Mateer. Remember when we all thought John Mateer was maybe going to come to the University of Utah with his offensive coordinator? Ended up at Oklahoma. All right, so still no Bear Bachmeier, still no Devin Dampier in Tiers 1 or Tier 2. Okay, let's look at Tier 3. C.J. Bailey at NC State, Lenora Sellers from South Carolina. By the way, Lenora Sellers, for a lot of people, was a Tier 1 quarterback last year. They've dropped him all the way down to Tier number 3. I should say in the preseason last year. He had kind of an underwhelming year. Byron Brown, Damon Williams, Malik Washington. There he is, baby! Returning starter in the Big 12 on Tier number 3, Devin Dampier. Here's the blurb. He's electric, a Big 12 personnel director said. He's someone who you want the ball in his hands. While his ability as a passer drew some criticism, one conference personnel staffer flagged Dampier's footwork when he was pressured. When Texas Tech got pressure on him consistently, everything went out the window. He was off his back foot running around. The accuracy issues, they're there. It's really hard for me to like him. That's from somebody else in the Big 12. Here's the thing. Hindsight is always 20/20. What did we learn about Devin Dampier, especially in that Texas Tech game? He was playing on double hernias.
There's an ankle issue too, if
And
I'm
an
not
ankle
mistaken. And earlier that game or the game before, he rolled his ankle pretty badly. So yeah, he was compromised from a health perspective for sure. That being said, from what you see on film, I don't think any of that was unfair. OC, he definitely had accuracy issues, especially when he was pressured.
Yeah.
And you hope again that fully healthy, those and 1 year more experience, you're not going to see those kinds of things this year. But I still think that's probably a little too low for Devin.
They rank him as the
tier.
22nd best quarterback in all of college football, and also mentioned that he had one of the best touchdown to turnover ratios in the country last year.
That's true. He barely threw interceptions last year.
34 touchdowns. He counted for 34 touchdowns. He turned the ball over 6 times between fumbles and interceptions. So really, really good year for him. Also in Tier 3 from the Big 12 Conference, they've got, Rocco Becht used to be in the Big 12 Conference. Now he's at Penn State. They've also got Connor Wegman, returning starter at Houston, as the 28th best quarterback in all of college football. Number 30 is Bear Bachmeier at BYU, according to their list. Big, tough, perfect for BYU's system and what they do, said another Big 12 coach. He'll continue to grow. I don't think he's an NFL-type first-round draft pick right now. He's still young. Another Big 12 offensive coordinator said this about Bear Bachmeier. I like this, a positive and a negative reaction from people in the conference. He's kind of a game manager. He can run, but he doesn't scare you in that he's going to take over and win you a game throwing the football, according to somebody who watched a lot of Bear Bachmeier tape.
Again, the context, an important piece of context there is to say, as a true freshman, he was that way, right?
And look, so there's there's a strong possibility that Bear Bachmeier, what we got from him last year is like that's his ceiling. That's what he's got.
Absolutely. Like,
there's
obviously
also
a possibility there.
There's also a strong possibility that Bear Bachmeier was a true freshman last year and played like a true freshman last year, and his processing speed and his decision-making, especially in the passing game, suffered because you're not asked to do that level of production in high school, especially when you can run like Bear Bachmeier can run.
And you're just as big of a human being as Bear Bachmeier is at that position.
I mean, a lot of high school football, for better or worse, your coaches are just like, dude, get whatever gets us into the end zone, do that, right? And if you have a quarterback like Bear Bachmeier, you're just like, oh yeah,
just run some people over.
Like, we're gonna run a triple option, and you're just gonna like occasionally throw the football, but you can hand it off, you can pitch it, or you can just run, right? I mean,
he doesn't even have to be. I'm sure in high school he didn't even have to be very elusive. He just, because of how big he was back then, is now. He probably was able to just go run at defenders and just challenge them to take him down to the ground, which I'm sure did not happen very often in his high school days.
Let me see if I can find some accurate Bear Bachmeier. He did have 59 touchdown passes.
Holy cow.
Over the course of his career.
See, I just think, that again, what I said about the negative evaluation, the negative perspective on Devin Dampier. Sure, that's all fair from what we saw on tape, but you're not taking into account that he was playing hurt for most of the year. With Bear Bachmeier, I'm not sure that you take into account when you make that kind of statement that he's just a game manager, that he was only a freshman.
A massive front court.
Sure.
Triple J, Lowry Markkinen, Walker Kessler, and obviously Walker Kessler is traded away. And, I far be it for me to question the Ainges on that decision, but
sure.
I ask you, how much of a subtraction, how much of a loss is Walker Kessler in this team, in this roster? And, the picks and the assets they got back, is it enough?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a price point as far as with Walker, and based on how much you had committed already to Jaron and Larry there, as far as what the number was. I thought originally what was offered was fair, based on the center market, and Utah didn't want to kind of meet that price point, which is certainly fair. Now, you replace him certainly you've got Nurkic coming back, who you re-signed, and had some good moments when he was with, it was a small sample with Markkinen and Jaron here, and you bring back Jackson Hayes. And it gives you a ton of flexibility as far as you mentioned the picks and the swaps and everything that basically they kind of reloaded their draft assets that were lost in the Jaron trade. Basically, you just swap that out and everything like that. And yeah, I mean, I think the end game is probably finding something permanent down the road, and maybe it is with one of those picks or maybe those multiple picks here. But I understand the philosophy as far as why they went. I think the intention was to re-sign him. And I think the one thing you didn't want to do is the player sign a qualifying offer, and I know it would have been early in free agency and everything like that. And I think what the Lakers offered, I think, was really too good to pass on.
One of the most fascinating things about this Jazz team moving forward is, after 4 or 5 years of tanking, Will Hardy and everyone on this roster are expected to flip a switch and to be able to flip a switch and just say, yep, now we're going to compete. Now we're going to know how to win. Now we're going to actually press through when we have these bumps and bruises instead of sitting out for 20 games. How difficult is that in your mind, Bobby?
That's the hardest part of it. And I equate it similar to kind of what the Wizards are going to go through. I think, everybody's talking about Washington, and they're kind of similar positions, both teams with AJ and Trey and Anthony Davis and everything. And you go back for both teams and the ability to learn how to win, right? Like that's the most important. And it's the ability to put games together. It's the ability to deal with adversity. It's the ability to play meaningful games when we get to March and April. And, prior to getting, Jackson and Josh on the roster and certainly re-signing Nurk, really, when you look at the roster, it was really Jaron and John Conchar as far as guys who played in the playoffs. So a lot of this is going to be a newness for them, for Keontae or for Darren or for Ace or Cody or Bryce, Isaiah, former draft picks and everything. As far as going through this process, which until you go through it, there's the great unknown. I mean, we could have said it with San Antonio a year ago or 2 years ago, and with Victor and that group there, and they said, well, they really know how to win, and they've kind of they've taken some lumps and everything. And then you kind of, piece some games together, and then you kind of get rolling. So I think getting off to a good start is going to be priority. I mean, that's going to be the biggest thing here. But as you mentioned, like, we probably don't know until they actually go through it.
In 2025, all of us were devastated to not see the Utah Jazz win the lottery and get Cooper Flagg as a result. And then Ace Bailey ends up being, I think, a nice piece and a revelation for a lot of fans. And I count myself among that group that probably underestimated him and his enthusiasm for playing in Utah. Now he heads into his second year. Is he ready, based on what you've seen, to be a true difference maker, to be a guy who can, if they ask him to, can be an every game starter and maybe carry some of the scoring load, et cetera?
I don't know. I don't know, because it was his limit. He was so limited in summer league, only playing in a couple games and 13 minutes, and it certainly was very uneven and everything like that. And I think there were a lot of good moments from Ace last year. I think the ability to play 72 games, the ability to get better as the season gets along. Now you're asking him to take a leap, right? Take a big step as far as his development. I think the beauty of it is that we don't have cameras inside of what these guys are doing right now, right? So we might get to late September and be like, wow, he added 15 pounds of muscle, or he's really developed his he was able to stretch the floor and do a lot of things differently here. So I would say, I think what you saw last year, I think you have to like. I think there's still a great unknown as far as how much better he will get, and I think he will get better.
I think the whole team is going to get better, and then I look around the West, and I say, well, how much is it going to matter that you got better? Because San Antonio's probably still getting better, and Denver could be better, and L.A. could – I mean, everyone is trying to get better all at the same time. So as far as upward mobility for this Utah Jazz roster, I've said it at – I think they're at least a play-in team. It'd be a really nice surprise if they were just a straight-up playoff team. Is that too much? Am I expecting too much in a year, like we already mentioned, where you just got to flip a switch?
It shouldn't be. I mean, I think you can make an argument, and Jazz fans will probably think I'm nuts when I say this. I said, like, you'd probably rather be in the West than the East. And I say that not because of where Oklahoma City and San Antonio is. I think the Eastern Conference from a depth standpoint is much better than the West. I really do. I think what teams were able to do certainly if the Kawhi trade goes through, and I don't know what the Clippers have, and certainly Phoenix and the Lakers are all new, and Denver really didn't add any pieces to their roster, and Houston the same thing. And so there's that. So yeah, I mean, if they're not in contention for a play-in spot, I think it would be certainly a disappointing year.
As the entire NBA holds its breath waiting on the decision of a 42-year-old, how many playoff wins does LeBron James add to a roster in 2026, 2027?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think that all the teams are different. I think certainly at least the three in the East with I think Miami probably makes the biggest impact, certainly because of a team that couldn't get out of the play-in, and you had Giannis and LeBron to that group with Bam and some other pieces here. I think Cleveland gets to the Eastern Conference Finals but gets swept. So can you take another step with LeBron? I think you can. Philly is an interesting because you got him and Jaylen Brown to a group with Maxey, Edgecombe, and Embiid already, and some other players, Dean Wade and Anthony Simons here. So I think he doesn't have to be the guy like he was in 2010 or 2018. I think he's probably more of what we saw since March when Luka and Austin were out there. He can be your third best player. On nights, he could be your best player here. But certainly I think whoever gets him and signs him and everything will probably catapult to probably one of the favorites in the East. I'm not ready to put them ahead of where New York is, just based on what New York was able to do in the playoffs.
All right, last thing before I let you go, I'll finish with an unfair question, and you can throw LeBron into this mix as we await his decision if you want. But all of the players on new teams heading into this year, all of the movement, who makes the biggest impact for that franchise?
I think if the trade goes through, which I think it will eventually, I think Kawhi in Toronto. I just think, and there's a big if to that, of course, as you know. I think that him being able to stay healthy will be the big if, and him getting through playoff series it will be a big thing too. But I just look at what he was able to do last year and basically have a career year at his age and be available. I think matters, and I think by swapping him out for, I think Brandon Ingram, who was kind of a little bit of an uneven playoffs year, I think that probably takes them to a team contending to be the 6th seed or 5th seed in the Eastern Conference, to one of the teams we're talking about up top.
Bobby, can't tell you how much I appreciate your time. Thanks for your expertise as well. Let's chat again soon.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Bobby Marks, NBA insider over at ESPN. You can find him talking about your Utah Jazz, hopefully a little bit this year, because we might have a relevant team again. Lots left to get to on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. The Truck with the Duck Valley Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling for all the latest and greatest on improvements for your drains, for your sprinkler system, the valves that bring and take water away from your home, all the stuff you don't want to have to deal with yourself. Valley Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling will handle that. And these last couple of weeks have really given you a good sense of whether or not your air conditioning system can handle the load of keeping a house cool and probably a furnace keeping a house warm in this great state of ours. The Truck with the Duck, again, can handle all of that stuff. Patrick Kane is headed back to the Blackhawks. This has been talked about, and why is it relevant to you as a Utah Mammoth fan? Well, because the first game of the season at the Delta Center will be Utah Mammoth versus Chicago Blackhawks, and the Blackhawks looking like they've got their star power, their roster sorted out in a way that maybe a lot of people didn't expect them to. They extended Connor Bedard, which, by the way, Connor Bedard was lobbying for this to happen. When we talked last week, we were talking a little bit of hockey last week, and there was a lot of hand-wringing, a lot of worry in the NHL that the Anaheim Ducks had sort of reset the market after extending or offering Theo Carlson $18 million average annual value. That's big, big money in the NHL. Like, that's top flight salary in the NHL. And then, of course, if you're looking to potentially sign someone in that same age category with that same level of production / star power as a GM, as an owner, and as a manager, you're like, oh, crap. Now I've got to gobble up a huge chunk of my salary cap for an individual player like this. I thought it was going to stick, and it didn't. Connor Bedard signed for roughly $15 million per year, average annual value. He's 21 years old. He's one of the brightest young stars in the league. And that contract, much like the Cooley contract, much like the Keller contract, much like the Schmaltz contract, they're all going to look like insane discounts. The Gunther contract for Utah Mammoth, they're all going to sound like insane discounts when we get to 3 and 5 years down the road, because these are long-term extensions. That Bedard deal is going to look really, really good. He's 21, and he was like, man, bring back Patrick Kane, who's 37, but Bedard wants somebody like this to play alongside. He won 3 Stanley Cups with the Blackhawks in the first stint. They drafted him first overall back in 2007, so a bit of a homecoming, not getting the same kind of attention as a LeBron James back to Cleveland potentially, but it's a big one for the NHL and specifically for Utah Mammoth's first home opponent of the upcoming season, the Chicago Blackhawks. We were talking yesterday about the potential Big 12 athletes of the year and the nominees from each school, and how we thought that it was kind of a no-brainer that, you know, a Spencer Fano Outland Trophy winner, or a Jacob Rodriguez, who compiled every national football award you could possibly imagine on the defensive side of the ball, at least for Texas Tech, would be the likely winner on the men's side. We thought Jane Hedengren down at BYU as a world record holder would be a likely candidate for the women's side, and we were dead wrong. A.J. DeBonsa is your male athlete of the year in the Big 12 Conference. Olivia Miles of TCU is your female athlete of the year, as she is, of course, also a basketball player. So a decision has been made that the Big 12, we're going to be a basketball league. And when we've got these forward-facing success stories in basketball, those are going to be our athletes of the year. A.J. DeBonsa had a great season at BYU. He did not have a Jacob Rodriguez equivalent basketball season. He did not even have a Spencer Fano equivalent basketball season. But I think what matters here is the PR move of this is the number 1 pick in the NBA draft. Look what we have. We have a mega basketball star, such a star that the NBA says, let's take him number 1 overall. And, of course, the conference also produced the number 2 pick, and the number 5 pick, number 6 pick. They
nine first-round picks, if I'm not mistaken. Like, that's a huge number in any sport. When a school gets close to that, I don't know if that's ever happened in the NFL draft, 9 from the same school, but when a school gets close to that in the NFL,
the same conference.
Excuse me, not the same school. Absolutely.
That would be amazing.
That would be even more incredible.
If you had 9, especially in the NBA, if you had 9 first-round draft picks in the NBA from one school, it'd be bananas.
That maybe that has happened in the NFL, maybe it hasn't, but it's certainly a rare thing for any sport to have that many first-round picks from the same conference. I get what you're saying about, and I don't disagree with the idea that, hey, this is as far as AJ DeBonsa getting the nod for male athlete of the year, this is the man of the moment in the sports world from our conference, just barely picked number 1 overall. But accolades-wise, he's not even close to, like you just said, Jacob Rodriguez and Spencer Fano. And I hate to be so technical, but technically being the number 1 overall pick as a pro has nothing to do with what you did in college. I mean, it has, but it relates, but
it's not a collegiate accomplishment.
It's not a collegiate accomplishment. It certainly has something to do with it, but it's not a Big 12 accomplishment. So I quibble with that. Also, all due respect to Olivia Miles, she had an incredible season. How do you not have a world record holder and a national champion as your female athlete of the year?
I don't know.
And Jane Hedengren.
It's annoying, but it is what it is. Basketball players get Big 12 male and female athletes of the year. Congrats to them. And look, it's not like AJ DeBonsa. People are going to look at it and be like, "Oh, why'd you give it to AJ DeBonsa? He's the number 1 overall pick." But you're right. If it's a college award, it's a college award. This is hangover talk from the World Cup, all right? First of all, RSL, get it dialed in, fellas. 3-1 loss to LAFC. Don't like seeing it. Don't want to see it again, all right? I need more from this RSL team. We're on our way to the MLS Cup here in 2026. All right, guys? So it's fine. Little blip on the radar after the break, but from here on out, let's go clean sheets and score like 4 or 5 goals a game.
Yeah.
Should be easy.
Yeah, and let's win a Leagues Cup while we're at it, too, because that's about to start in the next couple of weeks.
So, you know Vinicius Jr., Vinny Jr. from Brazil?
Oh, yeah.
You familiar?
Yeah.
He's getting dragged right now online, mostly in the hardcore soccer fan countries, because he had a cosmetic procedure done post-World Cup. He's got a bit of a weak chin, naturally. Vinicius Jr. he just had a small chin. You know, there's some people who just do. You got like a smaller chin. Small, maybe receding a little bit backward.
Okay. It's like the Whopper Jr. guy. I got these tiny hands.
Yeah.
I got this small chin.
Look, it's always interesting, especially because, like, if you're, let's tell it how it is. If you're a male professional athlete, you can kind of be ugly, and it doesn't matter. Now, I'm not trying to call Vinicius Jr. ugly because he's just a normal-looking dude, right? But you can kind of be ugly, and it doesn't matter if you're a male professional athlete. You're still going to do just fine in the world, right? He's already making crazy amount of money. He's a big-time star. He is known for his accomplishments in soccer, right? Men have it better off in this case. You're judged by things besides your looks. You're still judged on your looks, but you're judged on things besides your looks. You're judged on your accomplishments. You're judged on your intelligence. You're judged on your athleticism. He's checked all these boxes, right? You're judged on your income. He's got plus rating on all of those things. Maybe he just didn't like the way his chin looked, so he got a chin job. And look, objectively, it's a better physical appearance for him. It balances out his face a little bit. It's actually called a facial harmonization procedure because they try to restore like the golden ratio to your face, apparently. It's an improvement of his physical looks, and people are just dogging him because now he's got a big chin because he got a chin enhancement. I'm really, really fascinated when it's men who do the cosmetic procedures because, again, you don't have to worry about things the same way about your appearance if you're a man. LeBron James, right? Arguably top 3 NBA player of all time. Unbelievably wealthy. By all accounts, pretty well liked by people close to him and people not close to him. Right? Seems like a pretty smart guy, especially for someone whose background and education ended at his formal education ended in high school, right? Seems like LeBron's got a lot of things going for him. Successful dad, all these things. LeBron, what's the cosmetic thing that chases LeBron James?
His hairline.
The hairline.
Yeah.
Right? Like
his head, the joke was when he was still wearing headbands, it was moving farther and farther back on his head.
And he's got like the scar that people like, that's the old school like hair replacement scar or whatever. Now, whatever the technology is, it works. You can just go to Turkey and then you have hair again. Landon Donovan, we've seen this, right?
Speaking of the World Cup.
The best was that we saw that process with Landon Donovan. We saw bald Landon Donovan. We then saw Landon Donovan on camera with like the chop job of his hair.
Yeah, the side of his head was bald, but he had hair on top.
Like post-procedure. And then we've seen like the before and after. We've got to the after picture now where he's got the full lettuce. He's got salad up there now.
Nice looking hairpiece or whatever he's got going on there.
Got flow going on. It's wonderful, right?
I think it might be. I read that it might be a hairpiece, but
no. Really?
Yeah, I think it is.
Oh, that's a bummer.
But it looks
anyway,
good.
Hair restoration works. It does. Thousands and thousands and thousands of dudes go over to Turkey and get it done. You don't have to go to Turkey to get it done. It's cheaper there. But LeBron James, even LeBron James is like, yeah, I'm a little insecure about my hairline. The fact that those guys, that Vinicius Jr., LeBron James, some of these people have insecurities about their physical appearance should make every one of us feel better.
I also just think if I'm Vinny Jr. and I just got this done, I wouldn't even be looking online. Or if I did, I'd be like, I don't care. I like the way I look. Like looking at the pictures, I'm like, it looks good. Like, why would you care about what if people think that's beneath him? Like, I don't care. I look good.
I think that my opinion on this really. I mean, I'm always fascinated by what people want to do to change their looks or whatever. My opinion on whether or not you should do it, I throw up the air quotes, on like what's too much, what's too little, changed so drastically when I myself, like, I started getting tattoos, you know? And for some people, that is like, oh my gosh, that's insane. How could you? Why would you? Obviously, fewer and fewer people react that way now because tattoos are pretty mainstream, but I realized like it just kind of doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Like if you like it, it's fine. It's kind of like your clothes. It's a much more drastic and extreme version of your clothes, but like you wear what you like. You can't even really articulate why you like what you like in a lot of cases, why you wear the clothes you wear, why your style is what your style is. But Vinny Jr. wanted a bigger chin. Let him have a bigger chin. Don't hate on him for having a bigger chin.
Whatever on people wanting to comment on those things, and I certainly feel like I want to comment on some of those things, people's appearance sometimes, especially celebrities or athletes. But if I'm just trying to put myself in these athletes' shoes that drastically change their appearance in any way, all those ways that you mentioned and other ways, I feel like I'd just be like, as long as I think it looks good, as long as I'm comfortable, I don't care if other people don't like it.
And you always have that trump card where you're just like, well, are you good at soccer?
Yeah, like, are you good at the thing that I do? Like, if it's an actor or actress that they often get made fun of their appearance, it's like, well, do you make millions of dollars for being in movies? Okay.
With actors and actresses, it's interesting how sometimes, like, as long as Vinny Jr. can still play soccer and LeBron can still play basketball, they can look however they want. Who was I think it was the girl from Dirty Dancing. The actress had like a pretty distinct nose shape, and then she got the sort of generic nose job, and everyone was just like, "Oh no, we're not going to cast you anymore." And she was like, "What? I improved my appearance. What are you talking about?" And they're like, "Yeah, no."
Jennifer Grey.
Yeah,
who you're talking about.
Yeah, everyone's just like, you just look like everyone else or something. It kind of ruined her career, which is so messed up.
Yeah.
Anyway, Vinny Jr., the official stance of the Sean O'Connell show is, you go on with your weird chin, man.
Yeah.
Big, small, whatever you want.
Hey, chin up.
There you go. Oh, I usually hate your puns so much, but that one was excellent.
Vin up, huh? No, that one was. We'll go with chin up.
Have you been paying attention to the Caitlin Clark saga that seems to never end in the WNBA? Caitlin Clark is now one technical foul away from receiving a one-game ban. She is their Draymond Green, apparently.
Or Luka Doncic.
Just getting technical foul after technical foul after technical foul.
I feel like she's getting the Luka reputation. And even I think the Luka comparison fits even more because Draymond Green is not near the top player in the league. Caitlin is, and obviously is Luka in the NBA.
So,
but people are now starting to talk about her like they've started to talk about Luka, where it's like, okay, no doubt I admire their game, no doubt I think they're fun to watch, but are they just too big a whiner, and that's taking away from how fun I think it is to watch her? I'm starting to hear that more, which is very interesting. That was nowhere near the narrative around her last year.
Well, the whole thing is so fascinating because, like, the WNBA commissioner was supposed to go on Dan Patrick, didn't go on Dan Patrick. The way that, especially with Caitlin Clark, there seems to be a lot of, like, targeting that happens in the WNBA towards certain players. Nobody wants to address it. Folks are kind of like, well, hold on a minute. Are you a sports league or are you a soap opera? Because we want to watch the games. We want it, but there's a lot of drama around some of these certain things, and Caitlin Clark seems to be kind of at the center of a lot of this. Of course, her counterpart, Angel Reese, is also at the center of a lot of these things, and Caitlin Clark is second only to Angel Reese in technical fouls in the first 3 years of a WNBA career. No one has ever had more than Angel Reese. Second most is Caitlin Clark. So they're right there. They're staying at the forefront of the attention cycle in WNBA basketball, but it's not always for the right reasons.
Yeah, I wonder if it's going to be if this is going to be a negative star turn for her the way it has been for Luka in recent years. I mean, Luka is still greatly admired, but you know what I mean? It's almost like Shea and the foul merchant stuff where, like, okay, no one can really say you're bad at basketball, but they can say they hate watching you for a certain reason.
So Caitlin Clark, this most recent technical foul, according to her, it's because someone was talking trash to her and she said scoreboard, and the referee got mad at her about it. Here's the thing. I don't pay close enough attention to know, but there is some smoke, so maybe there's fire over the fact that, like, everybody in the league kind of hates Caitlin Clark for some reason. Justified? Maybe. A lot of people think it's a pettiness, a jealousy thing. That everyone wants to make an example of, oh, it's not about you, it's about us. It's not about you, it's about the league. There's a lot of criticism in the WNBA because when these other leagues have polarizing figures, they seemingly let the rising tide lift all the boats pretty easily, right? Yeah, there's controversy. Yeah, there's hot-headedness. Yeah, there's fights. There's whatever. But then it's just like, all right, yeah, LeBron James is the best player we got. Michael Jordan's the best right now. As much as I hate him, Michael Jordan's the best. There's this insistence in the WNBA. They're like, whoa, 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 don't talk about her. It's about all of us. It's like, guys, Have you not watched American sports for the last 100 years? We pay attention to like 6 people at a time. And everyone just gets on board.
When it doesn't take away from the other great players that some get more attention than the other necessarily. It doesn't have to be that zero-sum thing.
Therein lies the rub, I think, for a lot of people trying to get on the WNBA bandwagon, where they're just like, okay, but we can like Sabrina Ionescu and Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark and Asia Wilson and Elena Delle Donne and Cam Brink and Nafisa Collier. We can like all of them at the same time. We can love them all. And it seems like the WNBA is like, yeah, but as long as you don't talk about all of us equally. It's like, no, that's not really how it works, though.
It screams to me of just growing pains. This is the first time there's been this many eyeballs on this league, this much attention that this league has gotten. And yeah, it's at least the external viewpoint, the non-diehard WNBA fan, the casual WNBA fan viewpoint is it's because of one person, Caitlin Clark. But the rest of the league, including the commissioner, Kathleen Engelbert, who knows how long she's going to stay commissioner, doesn't know how to handle all that attention yet. And hopefully they figure that out soon.
Isn't that kind of the point of the commissioner? You're supposed to know how to do this?
Absolutely. Like I said,
figure it out, WNBA. The worst thing, this is bad for all sports if it happens, right? Is if you're platformed, you're given a place in the sun, and then you don't rise to that occasion. In any sport, you got to figure it out. All right, that's your Daily Dump brought to you by our friends over at Valley Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. We've got one more leaderboard update to give you. We've got a little crosstalk. We've got tickets to the end of Oak Street to give away. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. All right, here's a fun trivia question for you to get 4 tickets to the End of Oak Street, which comes out August 14th, but our sneak preview will happen on August 10th. ESPN700sports.com. 877-353-0700. We were talking a little basketball economics, and the salary cap heading into this year is like $169 million or whatever. The first NBA salary cap was how much? We looked it up. We talked about it. We were in rugged disbelief over how small that figure was. What was the first ever NBA salary cap? 877-353-0700. Time for a little crosstalk with Spence Checketts. But first, a check-in on the 3M Open brought to you by You Went to Golf. You Went to Golf by Worldwide Golf. Free custom fittings at You Went to Golf stores. You can shop online at worldwidegolf.com. James, what's happening at the 3M Open?
Emiliano Grillo, I think is how you say the name there. 7 under. He's your leader. Scotty Scheffler tied for second at 6 under, 1 shot off the lead. A couple of guys, including Denny McCarthy, tied for 6th at 5 under. And then a whole host of guys tied for 8th at 4 under. Let's see. You got Ben Coles in Ben Cole's in there. Sam Stevens is in that group, and many more. And that rounds out your top 10 there of the 3M Open at your in your old stomping grounds, OC, outside Minneapolis.
That's right.
And that's your PGA Tour leaderboard update brought to you by You Went to Golf.
All right. Crosstalk is brought to you by our friends at Advanced Window Products. 801-850-9100 for $2,500 off 10 windows or more. Spence Checketts in the drive up next. Spence, the first collectively bargained salary cap in the NBA was how much money?
I need a year.
1984, 1985. They agreed upon it in 83. It was instituted in 84-85 season.
All right. So my guess is listeners out there, based off the way you're asking the question, would probably think it was $20 to $30 million. 1984, I'm going to say just under $5 million.
It's a good guess. You're in the right range.
It's less than that?
Yeah.
Is it under $4 million?
It is.
Is it 3.8?
It's $3.6 million.
That's wild.
Now, that was the first one that was collectively bargained. The first actual salary cap, which was like a handshake agreement, apparently, in the 1946-1947 season, was $55,000 for a whole team.
$3.6 million is Bez Meng dude, the Jazzer. I think he's making $3.6 million. He's the 15th man on the roster.
It's what LeBron James might sign for this year as the 10-year minimum.
Yeah.
In the NBA.
That is unbelievable. Now, of course, for a number of different years, the players were not receiving their fair share. Obviously, the business of basketball wasn't then what it is now, but $3.6 million, even in 1984, in no way, shape, or form is what the players should have been getting. They got screwed over for a long time.
Yeah. So that was a wild one. We had Gordy in, and he same thing. He was like, it must have been like $30 million. And no, it was $3.6 million.
Yeah. Well, I can remember reading about the initial there was a big story during one of the CBA rounds about the origins of, the players being able to unionize, then collectively bargain, and just how few details they had when they were collective bargaining, because the owners did not want them to see the books, so they didn't want them to know how much money they actually should have been making. But $3.6 million. Based off of where we're at now. And look, we talk about this as it pertains to NIL. The players probably always deserve a little bit more. I mean, they are the product, and obviously the business is what drives the whole thing. But it's the same thing in college athletics. Like, you should have been able to be paid when you were playing college football. All of these football players, basketball players, student athletes, a term that I hate, have long been exploited, in my opinion. It's a business that was built on the backs of employees that were never paid. I'm not talking about a sweatshop here, but I kind of am. So now I'm all for the ability that they have to make the money they're making now.
There's going to be, we're not even a decade into this thing. We're what, sixth year of NIL, fifth year of NIL?
Thereabouts, yeah. Mm-hmm.
When you get a 10, 15-year sample size, people are going to look back and they're going to say, all right, which of these players making this money were, quote-unquote, worth it, right?
Yeah.
Like, we've seen the 30 for 30. Johnny Manziel should have made $50 million when he was at Texas A&M because of how much he brought to that school. Reggie Bush was worth more than that to USC at one point, probably. And those guys didn't get anything, and that's not right. One of my hot takes is that for, I'm going to say 80% of college football players, a scholarship is more than enough. More than what you're worth. Now, the 20% that the scholarship's not quite enough deserve a heck of a lot more than just a scholarship, and the 5% at the very top deserve way, way, way more than the scholarship. But most players, the vast, vast majority of players, the value of your scholarship, the connections you get, now the nutrition you receive, the better housing, all of that stuff, for most players, more than enough.
I don't know that that's necessarily a hot take. What I would add to that is whether or not you're one of the top 5% or 20%, no matter what, you should never have anybody tell you that you cannot go profit off of who you are.
Right.
You know, I always tell this anecdote. I had a friend who played college basketball at the University of Utah, and we had a mutual friend, and she taught piano lessons. She was a music major at the U, and on the side, she would teach piano lessons just to make some money because she was awesome at playing piano. She was going to school for piano, and so she was able to market the fact that she was a scholarship pianist at the University of Utah, so come take lessons. And this friend of mine, I'll tell you who it is off air, there was a family locally that wanted him to teach their son how to play basketball. So he was giving him lessons and getting like $40 an hour. And the administration found out about it, told him he couldn't do that.
Yeah, that would have been an NCAA violation.
Yeah, so to your point, there's an argument. And look, there's an argument to be made in any sport on any level. How many real needle movers are there? Right? So like right now, Victor Wembanyama, it has the right to walk into R.C. Buford's office and say, give me every penny, because he's that guy. But when you get down to the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, men on your bench, the reality is the gap between Kyle Filipowski for the Jazz and whoever the 9th man is on the Knicks isn't Heck Porty, okay? The gap between Huck Porty and Filipowski isn't very big. I had somebody recently say there are no more a-holes in the NBA because, and by the way, that's not true. There are plenty of them. But if you want a job in the NBA and you're not Steph, you're not Shea, you're not Wembanyama, if you act a fool and you're the 7th man, they're going to cut you loose so quickly because the talent pool now is so big, collegially, internationally. They'll go find a guy to give you 12 minutes a night if you're not going to act right. So I think there's an argument to be made in any sport on any level that the guys that really should be making the money are the guys that move the needle. And LeBron alluded to this on one of his 75 freaking public podcast appearances. I'm not sure which one. Where he's like, look, when it's to the point where I don't drive revenue for a team or the league, then I'll look at maybe stepping aside. The league ecosystem has always told players when we're done with you. They did it to Iverson. They did it to Iverson pretty quickly and pretty cruelly. I mean, he was with the Nuggets for a minute, but he wanted to play longer. They did it at some point. It happens to everybody. We don't want to see Karl Malone in a Laker jersey. We don't want to see Akeem Olajuwon limping up and down playing for the Raptors or Ewing with the Magic. Like, there's a way to do this gracefully. But if you're one of the handful of people and players that drives revenue for a team or the league, so somebody's going to find a place for you. But to your point, it is a smaller group than most people think.
The economics of sport have become, I think, it's good to have the knowledge, but I think sometimes have become too much of a story for us, right? A distraction from, and I'm grateful that football camp begins in 10 days or whatever, and we're getting back to X's and O's and things like that, because the finances and the economics of this stuff is now a point of worry and pain potentially for your team. It's a point of discussion for the future of your NBA franchise. It's like, oh, good job, Mammoth. You're managing your finances very, very well. I mean, it's become central to the fan experience, knowing contract statuses and things like that, and now NIL and college sports. So it's not all good, but it is fascinating for sure.
Speaking of camp opening up, we're all very mad at you. I'm speaking for all the media in the market.
All right.
Practice is closed. At
Yes.
the U.
To you people. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're mad at you. You were the one that was going to be able to convince your ex-teammate that we should at least be able to watch some portions of practice.
What I did is I said, if I just quietly come to watch every single practice, the whole practice, but I don't let any of the other media members know about it, can I have that access?
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't say no.
Yeah.
He also didn't say yes.
You didn't just throw out your coworker and the host of the afternoon drive program on the flagship affiliate, or
I figured you guys were frat brothers, so you would have it covered.
Okay. Well, I have some phone calls to make now. Then,
Okay.
if that's the deal, are you? I think a lot of people were at least hopeful that Morgan would lift the Iron Curtain a little bit. Are you surprised that he elected not to, or do you think it was his decision?
It's 100% his decision. He can do things however he wants to do them, and I'm not surprised because look, there's a lot of differences between Kyle Whittingham and Morgan Scalley.
Mm-hmm.
There are some similarities,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a pervasive belief, not just with those guys, but across college football, that like you can gain an advantage.
Yeah.
Or even if you don't gain an advantage, you put yourself at a disadvantage by allowing an opposing coach, an opposing whatever recruiting coordinator to see. I think player personnel talent is the thing that they worry about more than scheme.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's not wholly unexpected. It's fine. We'll make it through the 4 weeks of camp, and we'll give you as good a coverage as we can. We'll get all the sound for you. And then September 3rd, we're rolling.
How much of it do you think has to do with injuries?
Probably a lot.
Ari Temkin's your buddy, right?
Yeah.
He joined us during Big 12 Media Days. I was kicking around doing some show prep, and I saw that he had done an interview. And I like Ari. I think he's smart. I think he knows the league. And he was asked which coach was the biggest breath of fresh air at Big 12 Media Days. And he said it's Morgan Scalley by far. He's like, it's finally fun to talk to a Utah coach. He's like, I couldn't stand talking to Kyle. He's like, there was no point in talking to Kyle Whittingham. It was like made you nervous. You got like 8 minutes and he told you nothing. He's like, Morgan Scalley by far was the biggest breath of fresh air.
Yeah. If Morgan's going to keep practices closed and that's our biggest problem with him, that's a great problem to have.
No doubt.
So stay tuned for the Drive with Spence Checketts. We are off for Pioneer Day tomorrow, celebrating Spence's Pioneer heritage. So we'll be back with you on Monday. It's the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN.